Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name's Luke, and say a big, warm welcome again to a personal friend of mine and friend of the show, Ethan the Wolverine Goss. Ethan, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's great having you on the show. Now that I've welcomed you on the show, I want to say to everybody that Ethan the Wolverine Goss is not just a legend in MMA. He is the reigning, soon to be defending world featherweight champion of 247 fighting championships and the main event of Brawl in the Bird 13, October 1st, Monroeville Convention Center. I am just thrilled to be so excited to see what you will do as the main event. Brawl in the Berg 13. The last Brawl in the Berg was Brawl in the Berg 12. You and I were side by side on the commentary booth. And I'm going to guess that you're a little bit more excited to be defending your pro belt than you were to be sitting next to me at Brawl in the Berg 12, but that's okay. That was a great event. First time 247 had ever been at the Meadows Casino, which I know got you excited to be there as a fan and as a commentator. But let's jump in and talk about all the exciting things that's happened in your life since you won the belt. So I missed you winning the belt because I was getting married. And then shortly after you won the belt, you got married. So let's talk about all the fun and exciting stuff that's been happening. How exciting and accomplished filled has 2022 been for you? Because a couple of years ago, it was the middle of the pandemic. You were on a bit of a slump. Now here you are, 3 fights, wins, all impressive wins in a row. You're the reigning, soon to be defending 247 featherweight champ. Let's talk about just how much of a change 2022 has been compared to a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, man. I just kind of, to me, the last piece of the puzzle was the mental. You know what I mean? I just kind of hit another stride with the mentality, and it all came from picking up a win off Gaffney, and then the big win over Sudo last August. Because Sudo, that kid was the real deal. He was right out of Bellator, and we knew he was a tough kid, and we knew it was a big risk. And I put on a great performance that night, and then I topped it in April. I topped it in April. Yeah. When I won the championship in April with an even better, more a dominating performance. Since then, yeah, I got married May 21st to my beautiful wife, Kaylee. She can't see her. She's over there cooking me healthy food right now.
Hey, congratulations to you and Kaylee. That's wonderful.
And then one of my best friends got married a month later in June. So we had that. And we just got back from vacation, went to Outer Banks for a couple days, and just everything's rolling. Busy with work, busy with training. So.
And speaking of training, I'm sure now that October 1st, you're kind of in that window. You had talked before on this show, because I've interviewed you probably the most over anybody, although I've also interviewed your friend Sydney Ross quite a bit as well. I can't wait to see what she does on October 1st as well. You got a big gym presence on the card. I can't wait to see what all happens. But anyhow, you've been on the show so much. I know you've talked about kind of dialing in your training so you're not overtraining. And there is such a thing as overtraining. Obviously, this summer has been filled with kind of those breaks that you need. So how much mentally do you think it is good to come off the vacations, obviously your wedding plus a friend's wedding, and kind of feel rejuvenated to really put the grind in that I know you're known for, but that gets hard to do back to back without some type of break?
Yeah. So I pretty much never stopped training. I was supposed to fight in February, and the kid pulled out. And then, so I pretty much I was in camp. I think he pulled out like 2 weeks out or something. I was in camp for February, and then that happened. And I basically took, a week of just kind of screwing around. And then right back into camp for April, because I was getting ready for April. Then I got moved to the April show. After that, I wasn't, the only time I was really off I was off for the week of my wedding. I was off, a day or here or there. I was off a couple of days for vacation, but the older I'm getting old, no denying it. I can't technically train those, nonstop 7 days a week, 14 days straight. With what I do for a living, with running my own business with excavating and, I work a physical job. Like I pulled 355 feet of 4-aught cable in a ditch off a roll by myself today. That's a workout, pulling that stuff for 355 feet around obstacles and over dirt and stuff like that. But so I get a physical workout during the day, and then I go to the gym and I get my technical workout. So if I need a day, I take a day. I don't feel, before I'd feel guilty if I didn't, go in or anything like that. Or if I got something bothering me, I usually try to push through it. And most of the time I do. Like I was kind of having a slight neck issue. And I've had it before, but it went away, in a week's time or two. Well, it's stuck around for about a month and a half. And, I kept training and it was making wrestling and stuff hard. And, like every time I come in and jam my neck, it was just like a sharp pain in my back. And I'm like, oh man, I need to do something. So I ended up going to a chiropractor, and he laid me down on the table and determined that I had a rib out of place. So I trained for a month and a half with a rib out of place, and it was just, I pushed through it because I knew I could get through it, but I wasn't able to, do my best, or, feel like I was in great shape with it. So I no sooner got that. I mean, he literally popped and cracked me, one session. I stood up, turned my head back and forth, and I was like, wow, I don't feel it no more. Like, that was amazing. I can't believe I waited a month and a half to go get a rib put back in place. But so yeah, like I said, if I'm banged up, or if I'm tired, or I'm overworked, you know what I mean, I'll take a day. And I don't feel guilty about it because, I'm getting older, this shit catches up to you, man. 10 years of it, you always got aches and pains and bruises. And, when you need a recovery day, you take a recovery day. And that's, a big part of it. Something that I didn't really understand, when I was 20 years old is, you can take the world by the horns then, but
It's also a big part, like you were saying, is understanding that there's aspects of training and recovery that you're still learning. I'm a big fan of chiropractic. Obviously, that worked really well for you. It's also a real blessing. Thank God that your neck actually wasn't hurt. I mean, obviously you were experiencing the pain, but it's really good news that it was a rip. But I think that's also, particularly as you brought up age. Of course, you're 30, but got a lot of use out of those 30 years.
got a lot of miles on me.
A lot of miles. But one of the things that I think is good, when we look at the former light heavyweight champ of the world, Glover, who's 43 and still top, probably could be champion again, might be champion again in top 3.
Should be champion again. One mistake, he was going to win that.
I know it is. Oh, and we got, I got the pleasure of meeting him. He was at one of the Brawl and the Birds at Monroeville Convention Center.
Yep, I did too.
Yep. We both got to meet him. Absolutely incredible. Showed his support to a debut amateur fighter. And that's right, when I've always liked him in the UFC, but to watch a guy run in his own gym at the top, at that point, he already had the title fight scheduled and still coming out from Connecticut to support a brand new debut amateur fighter. He's got a long way, a great career ahead of him as a coach, and obviously a passionate coach, but clearly at 43, still compete at his level. I think one of the things related to you is now you kind of know when taking that day off and getting to a chiropractor or some other type of body manipulation can really make a big difference. There was a time where you might be able to just take a day or two off and just bounce back. But I really think things like whatever it happens to be, some people get into the cold stuff.
Yeah.
Therapy.
Cryotherapy.
And I'm a big fan of the chiropractor because I think you breathe better a lot of times after an adjustment and all those things. Well, here you are. You have the 247 belt. You had fought for it once previously before against a very great, tough opponent. Came up short that night. You got it back after a really good run. You're now on a 3-fight win streak. For October 1st, main event, reigning, soon to be defended. You're the star of the show. It's thrilling to see you really be connected to and synonymous with 247, both as a fighter, now a champion, broadcast booth for various fights. It's really exciting to see you. You already were a staple of Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania MMA, and now you've been connected 247 for literally its entire run. So it's just super exciting. But for you, you talked about the mental game, talked about some of the physical. What do you want to show, do against Tobias Taylor, who's also, I think he's had almost 10 pro fights. Mm-hmm. So he's an experienced pro. This is somebody that's on a 2-fight win streak of his own, going to bring momentum in. So what are you looking to do or show October 1st?
Tobias is, he's been around just about as long as I have. We fought some of the same guys before. For me, it's just about, honing my craft and, hitting my flow state. If I can hit my flow state, then I'm going to dominate. I know Tobias, and I'm expecting, Tobias to bring everything. He made the world kickboxing team a year or two ago, I think. So the kid's, he's a pretty good kickboxer. He's obviously, I've seen, he's got power in his hands. I've seen that he's dropped a couple guys that he's fought. Last win was by TKO. But I'm also expecting him not to be afraid to wrestle and not to be afraid to shoot. And, I think that in the last fight of mine, that was kind of the element of surprise that Barberina ran into, because they thought, I wasn't going to be able to wrestle. But I was a wrestler first before I was ever a fighter. So, but yeah, I just feel, amazing. And, my plan is and it always changes. It always adjusts. I've talked about it over and over and over again. There's always in-ring adjustments. I don't really have a set solid game plan coming in, but I'm prepared to be ready wherever the fight takes place. And my ultimate goal is to be even more dominating than I was in the last fight. The ultimate goal is to find a finish. However it is, it doesn't matter to me. I'd like to get back onto my finishing ways. So I think out of my 8 wins, 6 or 5 or 6 are finishes. I don't remember. So yeah, I would like to notch another finish. You know what I mean? So, and I'm always hunting for it.
Well, I've been cage side to most of your fights in 247. That's evident in the style. Something that you brought up, which is so important, I think, mental game, is to find that flow state. If you try to predict, if you try to force things to happen in a fight, that can obviously sort of derail the progress. So I think we've seen you in that flow state. You had an incredible takedown slam, full pickup slam against Sutho in a close, really fight of the year. I mean, it was entertaining, but it was really your ability. I feel like that was within the last minute of the fight. Might have been in the middle of that last round, but I think it was
the last minute.
Last minute. There you go. It was the last minute of the fight. And it was one of those things where you doing big moves like that, big, impressive, technically explosive moves late in a fight, I think shows exactly what you mean by the flow state, where things are working. Obviously, your dominant title win is in some ways more impressive because a finish, like you said, a finish or a dominant win is more impressive. But the ability to fight the full 15 minutes if needed, you've shown over and over and over again. And that's also very impressive. So as somebody who gets to sit ringside and commentate on your upcoming fight, I'm thrilled. You put on we almost don't have to say anything on the commentary. We will say some nice things about you, but the crowd loves you. People that understand Pennsylvania MMA know who you are. You've also already fought on Bellator. Obviously, you've had some big exposure. But I think now, even if people didn't know you and they just came to 247 fights, they know who you are now. And that's one thing I give Ryan Middleton and Jim Moody and everybody from 247 credit. Part of building up a great product is that if somebody comes for the debut fighter who's 0-0 at the very beginning of the card and they stay for the whole card, then they're hooked on everybody else, whether that be you, the Gorilla House team that we've mentioned, Sidney Ross, obviously the Mole Rat, Cassidy. You have so many people out of your gym, not to mention Big Man Dan. I mean, there's so much talent. I think a lot of times that's what's exciting for people that don't understand the value of going to live regional MMA is you get to see a top down stacked card from amateur all the way up to the pro title that you're going to be in. And it really gets you connected to fighters in a more local, tangible way. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
We really love the atmosphere for the first time ever at the Meadows, which I know we both
Yeah,
love.
that was great. Those
the-
guys, that was a loud crowd that night. And, it was a fun night to be on the show, and it was entertaining fights. Ryan and Hunter and those guys, they do an amazing job with the show. Their promoting skills are awesome. And no matter what anybody tries to say, you know what I mean? I am a fighter for them. I've seen how they treat fighters. Like, no matter who tries to say what, like, I'm telling you, they do good stuff. They don't try to beat around the bush with anything. They don't cut corners with anything. I mean, if you don't think go to one of his shows and you'll see that they put a lot of time and effort and money into producing these shows. And, it's working out for them, obviously, because you've seen it grow so much. They got a general manager now. They got multiple matchmakers now. They're putting together some of these awesome videos, them editing videos like that just come out a month or so ago. They're doing great things, and they got great people involved with it. Ryan Kavanaugh, for example, greatest play-by-play guy in the area. Absolutely amazing at what he does. They got you on there who's been with them from the beginning. They're incorporating me in, they're having a fighter, come in and do the commentary and stuff. They're doing new things. They're being different, you know what I mean? And they're being successful. Ryan and I are actually, Ryan and I are friends. I'm pretty much, loyal to him as he's loyal to me. If he didn't treat me well, I wouldn't be hanging out, so, but yeah, they do a great job. And, you get anywhere from a UFC vet, Bellator vet, to an O&O Division I wrestler, to a kid that might train out of his garage. You know what I mean? You got all sorts of that stuff. Kama Worthy's headlined how many shows? I love it when Kama and I fight back to back. Kama headlines and I co-headline, as we're like, I'm pretty sure we're undefeated at like 3-0 or 4-0. Both of us win when that happens.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we're both, when he headlines and I co-headline, we definitely both win. With something we got going on, but yeah, it's just the whole atmosphere is amazing. It was a new crowd at Canonsburg at the casino. It was a lively crowd after it was done. After party in the casino, everybody goes into enjoys. Pittsburgh's full of a lot of great people. Not to even mention the other fighters and coaches that are out there. So,
well, I appreciate you sharing so openly, not only as the champ of 247, but also of an experienced fighter who have fought on all types of platforms. And I think it really shows what 247 is doing well, and also where it'll be in a couple more years. I mean, it's always a developmental thing. Things are always growing. You mentioned probably 4 or 5 things that they've added or done, or the growth that they've had. The shout out I will always give to 247, and I'm just a very small part fight night of. But as far as the management goes, with Ryan Middleton deciding in November of the pandemic to have 2 shows, one before, one after Thanksgiving, when the wonderful, incredible, amazing czar of the state athletic commissioner, decided to ban all fighters. ban all fans. He had 2 shows with no way to make money. I mean,
Yeah,
no
no
crowd,
income other
nothing.
than
Right.
pay-per-view income. You know what
Well,
I
and
mean?
yeah, and that was much smaller than it is now. That was kind of still in the infancy. And what I remember him saying is, and he's been public with this, is it would have in many ways been simpler and easier to just cancel both shows. I mean, they literally kind of were canceled by the commissioner, but then the compromise was, well, it can only be fighters and a couple coaches, and like literally bare bones, which we've seen at other events too. But he decided to go push through and do 2 good events, 2 big, a lot of names, a lot of fighters. Sidney Ross had an incredible liver kick win. I'm sure you remember that. It was an incredible performance, but that was all to benefit the fighters. It took a hit at the time to go through with those cards, to then put the fighters where they needed to be. It was hard for fighters to keep fighting during COVID. So that showed me that while it is a business and there is a long-term goal and gains and things that need to be done for the promotional side, when it came down to it, he continued to put on shows to benefit the fighters and the coaches, which, thousands of hours go in to every minute in a cage, both for the fighters and the coaches. And so that was a beautiful thing. And I'm honored to be your friend and have you on the show as many times, and looking forward to times where we're on commentary again in the future. And maybe, since you just gave a great plug for the Death Star Worthy in the future, maybe you guys will co-headline a card down the road. I'm sure Jim Mooney, little ears are perking up. What? So it'll be great. You've given a great.
Absolutely. I love Kama. Kama has been amazing. He's helped me out tremendously. I went out and worked with him. You know what I mean? When I went to his gym, I trained with him. He beat me up. And I like a guy that beats me up. So, but no, Kama's a good dude. He's an extremely good dude. He's gave me shout outs on interviews and stuff. And, that says a lot for me, basically coming from a couple hours away. But we understand each other because we understand the game. We both been around 10 plus years, and one of the things he said that I most agree with is, this sport weeds people out, as, pretty much only the tough end up surviving. And, that says a lot for somebody like him, who's got 15 years into the game, kind of late in his career, and he makes it to the UFC, and then he does what he does, so anybody that's been around a while, is a dangerous dude. And same goes for Tobias Taylor. He's been around 8-9 years. So he's a dangerous guy.
He absolutely is. And I appreciate you as champ, appreciating your opponent. I mean, I think you've done that with everybody on your way up, and now that you're the champ, because one of the things that makes promotions good and fighters better is good competition. And that's why we give shout out. You're giving shout out to the matchmakers, Jim Mooney as the main matchmaker, and some others, is because, it's important to have meaningful wins. Every win you've had is a meaningful win over good opponents with good records, with good experience. They've done that with Kama too. Back when Kama was kind of, people thought that he would never make it to the next level because he was kind of a, like you said, and he was incredible. But he was fighting people. I remember the last fight before UFC for him was Adam Ward, who was a experienced Bellator vet and himself was a good, experienced guy. And the knockout was incredible.
Yeah.
The UFC took notice. So I think it really is about putting on the best fights, because that benefits you as a fighter. Because every win you were mentioning, Sutho, that win was a big deal. Who he is as a fighter, people noticed your win over him. I mean, I think that's kind of the fights you want. Your future opponent, Tobias Taylor, that's going to be a good win, for you. If that fight goes the way you want it to, that's a notable win. Same thing for him if he beats you. That's a notable win. I think that's the type of fights you have to put on.
I mean, that's part of the game too, is like, you have to be realistic. You have to understand that this dude's got just as good a chance of knocking me out as I got of knocking him out. Right. So I have to take that into play. So I have to, and it helps you like completely understand the game that way. I understand he might have power in his right hand, or I understand he's got a good left hook, so I got to be prepared for that as well as prepare for sending mine in there. So maybe I got a good left hand, maybe I got a good right hook, like, and I mean, you'll see it more at the amateur level where somebody might say, oh, I'm going to guarantee knock this guy out. There is absolutely no guarantee in fighting. None whatsoever. You might come out and it might end in an eye poke in 5 seconds. You do not know. You know what I mean? So that's why there's always in-ring adjustments, and you have to be prepared for everything, because there's so many ways to win and there's so many ways to lose. So patience can be key. You know what I mean? And you see it even in amateur level. Bobby Murda.
Yeah.
Look how well he looked in his last fight.
Mhm.
He's patient. You know what I mean? He picks his shots. He's patient. He's not coming out. He's not brawling. He's not, you know what I mean, putting himself in danger. He's patient with what he's doing. And he looked awesome doing it. As you've seen Cam do it before.
Yeah.
You've seen Sydney do it before. You see guys work up to that level. But it's like you just have to understand, if you were in the trenches and you've been in the trenches for a while, you'll figure it out. So, and like same goes to Kama. He was talking about him. I remember when Kama was, I was fighting on the amateur portions of the card, and Kama was just, the co-main guy or the guy before that. And, Mark Cherico was the man to beat, and
Sure.
Cody Garbrandt was the man to beat. And they were the ones kind of getting all the spotlight. Don Mazzata, they were kind of getting all the spotlight, and Kama was just quietly, working his way up the ranks. He was just a little bit later of a bloomer. And, Cody made some pretty big noise in the UFC, but look how much noise Kama made in the UFC.
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean? He was kind of the diamond that took a little bit longer to make.
Yeah. And for anybody that is interested in learning, I think really a healthy championship mindset, that's from you, that's from Kama. You've talked about all types of valuable things, from how to train and how to rest your body, to flow state, to wanting to finish, to wanting to be impressive. And then also the realistic side that it's a fight and you have to have that mindset that anything could happen. There's no prediction. There's no way to really know. And in fact, if you have a game plan that it has to go and it doesn't go that way, then, we've seen people kind of flounder and not really know what to do with it. And it's been an honor, as always, to talk to you. Congratulations publicly, of course, on your wedding. And you and your bride, I wish you guys all the best. I know it's going to be an exciting main event. You versus Tobias Taylor, Brawlenberg 13. Get tickets now from anybody at the gyms, from you directly, of course, from the Gorilla House gym, from any of the gyms that are on the card, or from 247fighting.com. It's been an honor. You've been listening to Luke on MMA Fancast with my guest, the reigning 247 Fighting Championship, soon to be Brawlenberg 13 main event, Ethan, the Wolverine Goss. Thanks so much, Ethan.
Thank you. Buy your tickets off me.
From Ethan, or the dog. The dog will also have tickets.
Yeah, Asa might have tickets too, but buy them off me. If you order them online, put my name in there.
There you go. Yes, that's a big thing I always try to point out. If you are buying tickets offline, 247fighting.com, always make sure to pick a fighter. And you know what? If you don't know any fighter, just pick one. They'll be very grateful for you. If you're coming out to support, if you're coming out to support Ethan, support him, get him through online or direct. That's probably in some ways the best way, direct, or from the gym. I know gyms are always, the Mat Factor always has a big presence on these cards. The Academy you mentioned, because of Kama, obviously, Gorilla House, your gym, and many other gyms. It also helps the fighters in the gym. So thanks so much for taking time out just after your vacation, and only a month and so away from, really exactly a month away from your fight. So thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, buddy.
You got it. Have a good one. Bye-bye.